We're back yet again for yet another episode. Being consistent, yes, so we're back. And in this particular episode, we're going to talk all things FPL drafts. And I have Sankalp and a very special guest who has joined us from down under. That's none other than Luke, that's at FPL Crusader. I'll go straight away to Luke here because Fulham have apparently signed Smith Rowe. So I'm just going to go straight to him. What are your thoughts on the signing?
Very happy, very happy. As I was saying just earlier, I think he could be a really good replacement if Pereira leaves. I think he wants to play in some Euro competition, or he maybe wants to get a big payday over in Saudi Arabia. Either way, I think Smith Rowe will be really good. He should combine really well with Muniz, I think, and it'd also give Harry Wilson a bit of freedom, I guess, on the right. So very interested. He should slot straight into the first team. I think we paid a decent amount for him, I'm really excited. He's someone we've wanted for a while. I think we tried to get it last year as well, but we couldn't get it across the line. But now with Pellegrini leaving, we need to start bringing some players in. So I think we're going to focus on defense after Smith Rowe, but he's in my FPL draft, so hopefully we'll get some cheap points from him in the first couple of weeks. We've got some good fixtures as well, so could be very interesting over the next few weeks.
Yes, I mean, Sankalp is smiling, yes, because he's left from Arsenal to join Fulham. And another important thing is that, particularly, he's priced at 5.5. So,
Yeah.
a lot of the managers who are having Salah and Haaland need players in that particular price bracket who could, kind of turn up, have a surprising season because with the budget constraints that we have at the moment, we are looking at players who are kind of, mid-priced who could explode.
Exactly, yeah, because the other 5.5 everyone's going for is Hudson Odoi. So when Forest fixtures turn, you might want to go to Smith Rowe as well. I'm not sure if he'll start straight away, but I think after a couple of games he'll be embedded into the team.
Okay, so here are the talking points that we're going to cover today. We're going to look at some of the preseason games that, if you've watched, we're going to discuss on it. Obviously, United and Arsenal have played a game a few days back, and some of the teams have also played as well. And the main talking point is our team drafts. So we're going to discuss about our team structures and the players that we've picked up, and if we are going to make any changes to it. So, anything you guys want to add regarding the preseason games? Anything interesting you've seen?
Um, I think all eyes are on Chelsea and Liverpool, right? Two teams with two new coaches, and trying to see or trying to gauge how they are trying to line up the squad, what the kind of tactics they are going to use, who might benefit out of it, right? The good thing was Maresca speaking very highly about our 6.5 million midfielder, right? And Kuku, and I think Nkuku is already high on a lot of people's list. I don't know how he will play, but the ceiling is high for his price, right? He's a really good finisher. Unfortunately, missed out most of the season last year with injury. Seems Sharper has scored a couple of goals in the preseason game so far. One is a penalty, but he's integrating well. Right. I could see with the backline as well. They are playing with a really high backline, something Chelsea defenders are not really used to. I had a clip where I could see them, all four of them, very close to the half line, right? So I was like, okay, interesting. I was so sure about Salah captaincy. Now I'm thinking, someone like Haaland, someone like Foden, or even Oscar Bob might run into those gaps and score really well. So something to remind myself with slot. I think one thing which has been a topic of great discussion in the FPL community is the uses of number of tens by slot. One of which is Slovosai, right? I still miss out his name, but 6.5 million midfielder used as a number 10. He was fairly attacking, is what everyone told me, and I haven't seen the match to be honest, but something to keep a note. But Slot did say, this was because of lack of forwards. They don't have Nunes, Gakpo, anyone coming back from the Copa America, Euros, etc. So that might evolve. But Salah was very wide, and the central players were being used to go closer to the goal. So these are the couple of things that I noticed. Saw 45 minutes of Arsenal United, was happy we won the match. But overall, I think it was a good practice for both the teams. Jesus looked really, really sharp. You know, everyone was like, Kai starts, Kai starts. And even I thought for a moment Kai starts, but Kai just came back from, his post Euros break, and Jesus already looks really, really sharp. So we might have a surprise as to how Arteta uses the number nine, right? That was my first thought. Other than that, team looked good. Martinelli just came back from his preseason break, but Arteta spoke really well about him and again looked really sharp, right? So very limited thing. Next up, I think tomorrow we are going to face Liverpool tomorrow morning India time, right? So would be good to see how the team evolves, both from Liverpool point of view and Arsenal as well. With more and more players coming in, right, and more first XI players settling in. Right, that's all from my side. Anything you want to add, Luke?
Yeah, so Liverpool. Everyone's going to jump in on Liverpool over the first few weeks because of their good fixtures, but we don't know how they're going to set up yet. I know that Slot likes to have an attacking midfielder, and attacking midfielders under his system do really well, which is why Szoboszlai, or I call him Bozo, I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce it, but I think he'll do really well this season. But I'm not sure if he's going to be the main focus, or if he might share that load with McAllister as well. Slot did say that he wants to have a big, not really a target man, but a number 9 there that really works in his system. So it's 50-50. Who's gonna be that person? Is it going to be Nunez? Is it going to be Gakpo? We don't know yet. So um, for one of my drafts, I've gone for Bozolai just because I think he could flourish, and he was in pretty good form at the Euros, and he shouldn't be too tired because he didn't really last very long at the Euros, unfortunately for Hungary, but should be okay. One of the other things with Liverpool as well is Trent. I'm not really sure if Trent's going to flourish under this new system. It's not really an inverted wing back or an attacking wing back style of system with Slot, but he needs to use him somehow. He's a bit of a talent, so I'm not really sure how he's going to fit in. So for me, it will be a little bit of an avoid FPL wise until we understand what's going on. With Arsenal, I've always been a Martinelli lover. I have him in pretty much every draft, apart from this year because I just don't know how they're going to line up. Arsenal's got too many wingers or too many attackers as it is. But I hear that Martinelli's playing pretty well and he's looking pretty good in pre-season as well. So I think he's someone to keep an eye on. It just depends on whether or not he gets a nod over Trossard. And as you said, with Jesus and Havertz as well, the sport for choice there. So one of the interesting things I did notice is that Arsenal themselves are clearly gearing up for a big year. They want to win the title. All their preseason are against top tier teams, whereas other teams within the Prem are playing some good and then some championship teams, whereas Arsenal's got, like you say, Manchester United. Then they've got Liverpool, Bayern Leverkusen, who had the amazing season last year. And they've also got Lyon as well. So they're really ramping up for a good start to the season. Arsenal are always strong starters, and I generally forget that. I overlook them, thinking that, is it going to be too much for them? Can they back up? But they've also got Wolves at home in the first round. So I'm second guessing my thought process to not have a defender in there from Arsenal. And I definitely think I should have an attacker. So we spoke earlier about how much tinkering I've done. I've tried to stay away from it, but every time I think about it, I want to jump back in there and change it up. I reckon I would have made at least 15 transfers already, so I need to put my hands in my pockets now and then. But every time I look at the preseason, especially for Arsenal, it looks really good. So, yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but this is the best time of the year for me, in FPL, right? Where you have a lot of positive thoughts. You just think, everything is optimistic. You look at a rank one, like ranked 100, like 1,000, right? Something around that is there in your mind, and you are like playing around. You're like, okay, this move might work out really well, right? I really love this time of the season.
Yeah, it's the imagination of what if, right? What if I get
Yeah.
off to a really good start? How well could it go? I never think to myself, what if I'm picking 3 bench people and I only get 15 points? It's always, I'm going to get 95 points this week. This is going to do really well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, what if is very good, but post game week one results, then we are like, I shouldn't have got him. I should have picked him.
Yeah, that's when the regret starts.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's when FPL begins. On that note, let's look at the drafts. So I'll go to Sankalp's draft straight away. Sankalp,
Yeah.
walk us through your team.
Yeah, I think I have the core ready. Some of the core players that I feel I will pick for sure, like Haaland, Isak are for sure. My two forwards. I would have loved Watkins, but I think given the way fixtures are, I'm comfortable starting with Isak and then meandering around, coming down or going up a bit. I have Odegaard, Eze, and Kuku, who are my three set players. Given the price points, Eze is 7.5. I want someone at 7.5. Odegaard is 8.5. I want someone at 8.5, and I really feel Odegaard is a bit underlooked at. For example, I wasn't sure. I was just looking at last season points, and he did end at 186 points. I was really surprised. I'm an Arsenal fan, and I follow him so closely. Even I didn't realize he ended. By the time he ended, I think his second half of the season was good, very good, and he ended with 186 points. So for someone who just scored 186 points, priced at 8.5 million, I'm happy to pick him up. And given I think the first three fixtures for us are easier. He didn't have any Euros, right? He had a good break. He started right from the start of the preseason. As a being the talisman of Palace, again, Palace fixtures do look good as well. And I think post the new coach coming in last season, they played really well, right? With that in mind. And Nkuku, given the price point at 6.5 million, I'm very much enamored by how high the potential can be, right? So these three players for me are for sure set. Uh, Back in the line, I wanted to have one Everton defender. I think I got some good points last season, by Pickford or even having another. At some point of time, I had a double Everton defense, and I think they gave me good hauls. That's my good memory. So I have Milenko there. I have Saliba. I wanted to have one Arsenal defender, set and forget. This season I feel Arsenal defense can be a bit tricky, compared to last season, primarily because we are just about to sign one more defender now who's going to be a left center back slash left back, ideally left back, but we don't know, right? So Gabriel has a really strong competition now. White can have reduced minutes with Timber being fit now, and on the left back also it's not really sure, right? So ideally it's Raya or Saliba out of our defense who look fairly golden for the minutes. I don't know. Saliba is yet to come back from Euros break, but I think he will be fit by the time that starts. So for now, it's a 6 million, sitter, and as long as I'm comfortable thinking that Saliba starts, he's my long-term set and forget, 6 million guy. Then I have 4.5 million guys. Mylenko, Munoz is 5 million. Fairly attacking in nature. A lot of people have him. I have seen less of him, but I'm just going by what I'm hearing from a lot of pods, etc. Right? You just pick and choose, right? So Palace have good fixtures. Again, going with Munoz for the time being, and then I have Mylenko and Castagna, as my two 4.5s. In the defense, I want to keep one 4.5 and one 4 million. That's the way I work generally, goalkeepers. I realize that here I have kept two 4.5 million keepers. Both Bournemouth keepers are 4.5 million. So I'll take zero point 0.5 million out and keep it in the bank, just to handle any initial price rises, right? That's my initial thought. And this is draft one with a two minimum, both Salah and Haaland. But like I said, looking at the way Slot is structuring his team, initial thoughts, I'm a bit worried about Salah because if I take Salah, I'll definitely go for a Ipswich captaincy. And looking at both Chelsea and Liverpool now, I'm having second thoughts as to how viable it looks or how ridiculous it can come back to be. And that's why I have my second draft where there's a slight tweak. Basically, what I've done is I've taken Salah out with a 4.5 million midfielder, which was Harry Winks, I think, for me. And with that money, I have a Sun plus Martinelli, which looks very promising to me. One Martinelli, obviously, it's early days, but Martinelli is at 7 million, which is like freakishly cheap for me. And Sun has really, really good fixtures, I think, first three. And Leicester away is almost captaincy material in itself, right? So this is my second draft where I think, downgraded the keeper and kept zero point 0.5 million in the bank and no other changes as such, if you look at it, right? And I have a good feeling about this draft, right? But both the drafts are in fairly balanced, and I think this is how my thoughts are as of now. It looks like more or less I'm on it, and then there'll be few tweaks, non-core assets. You look at more and more analysis around the game. You look at how different teams are playing in the preseason games, and few tweaks here and there. But I feel way more comfortable with my draft, how things are shaping up as of now.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting. There are some players. I think this kind of sort of a template that's been formed over the past few days or weeks, that everyone will have one Palace defender, one Everton defense, one from Brighton, then just pick another 4 million defender and another 4.5, and that's kind of being the template at the moment, unless you just get in trend and downgrade somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really not very sure about trend. I know people are really, really jumping on him at 7 million price, but I think the price point is high. This season they have really cut down on the bonus point when we are talking about in the earlier episode, right? The bonus point potential of attacker defender really comes down if they don't get a clean sheet, and I'm not really sure about Liverpool's clean sheet potentials, right? And That's why I'm not very comfortable starting with Trent. I'm happier looking at him, right? And again, I have a 6 million guy, so if I have to upgrade, I think it's just a couple of tweaks away. So I can look at it as a game week 3 transfer with 0.5 million in the bank. So it's viable to move there if required. But as of now, I am not really high on Trent like others.
I agree. I'm not high on Trent either. And the money you need can go elsewhere as well. So 7 million doesn't seem like a lot, but with the bonus point structure changed, it's good to keep that up your sleeve, especially for the midfield.
Any observation, guys? What do you think about Castanier? Luke, do you feel he starts?
I think so. Yeah, he cemented his place in the first team last year. Kenny Tete just signed a new contract recently, but I think Timmy Castagna is probably our number one over him. Also, Anthony Robertson keeps getting linked with other clubs, specifically in Spain and Italy. So there's a potential there that he could leave, and if that's the case, then Timmy Chestnuts can play on both sides.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be fine. He should get either starts, or he'll definitely get game time. So he's definitely in my draft.
Amazing. So we'll move on to Luke's draft.
Yeah, look at this. All right. So as a caveat, I just chucked in 2 4.5 keepers. I don't really know. Haven't really focused too much on the keepers yet. There's no real standouts, but I don't because of the bonus point system change. I don't really want to spend any more than 4.5. Haaland and Isaac were a definite for me, so they will stay in the team. As is Palmer. I know he went to the Euros. He didn't play a lot of minutes, but the form he had at the Euros was amazing. So for me, I'm going to stick with Palmer. I'll run through the defense first. So Konsa's really good in the new bonus point system. He draws a lot of fouls, and I want to keep him there. Kieran Trippier is about to leave Newcastle, according to all reports. So Livramento should slot in nicely. He's a 4.5. He won't get as much. He won't get the same amount of returns as Trippier will, but he's a good entry level into the Newcastle defense, and I think he'll get better over time. He's still relatively young as well. I've put Timber in there because I wanted a piece of the Arsenal defense, and I was getting FOMO not having them in there. I also couldn't afford it. I don't have any budget in this draft, so I went Timber at 5.5. Initially, when I first did, I had Ben White because last season I brought in Ben White as part of the double Arsenal defense, and it really helped my rank. He got a lot of points for me, especially towards after game week 30 or so. But I think he's gone up to 6.5 now, which I can't really afford. So Timber's sitting there. So it's either going to be him or Calafiori who's coming in. I believe he's just signed, or he's at least following the team to America. So that's good signs, I guess. I'm not sure how much he'll be like in terms of the price point, and I don't think he'll start game week 1, to be honest, being this close. So I'll stick with Timber for now, and then if he doesn't start, then we can work with that. I've got Barco as well. So Barco in preseason for Brighton has been playing really well, and he's getting a lot of lot of traction. I think in one day I saw on Twitter yesterday that his overall ownership went up by almost 1% just in one day, and he hadn't even been on TV. Um, so all the engaged managers didn't even know he was playing. Also, the non-engaged managers didn't realize he wasn't playing. But he really rolled for everyone there. And as we spoke about before, Castagna, he's from Fulham. I need to have a Fulham guy on my team. I don't know why. Usually it's Muniz, but I've chosen a front three, a heavy front three. So it'll be Timmy. In terms of midfield, as I spoke to you earlier, I don't think Salah's worth the investment just yet. So I've gone with Bozo. I think as the attacking mid in that system, he'll do really well. So I'm looking for big things. I'm also looking for him to hit the ground running straight away. He's playing good in the preseason. And who have they got first? I can't quite see that. Is that Ipswich?
Ipswich.
Yeah. I think he should go into Ipswich. It might be tough, Ipswich's first game away, but I think they'll open them up pretty easily. Callum Hudson-Odoi is looking pretty good. He's a bit of a talisman. I know there's an argument between him and Morgan Gibbs-White if you're going to get a Forest midfielder, but really you can save money on Hudson-Odoi. And the form he was in at the end of last year looked really good, and he wants to score goals. And the FPL legend Mark Southerns always talks about Hudson-Odoi, how well he's playing. So he's also a Forest expert as well. I've got Gordon in there for now. So Gordon is probably one of the ones that I could change. He's in a good price point. But I just wanted a piece of that Newcastle attack. So Gordon and Isaac in game week 1. And of course, Palmer, as I said before, I can't really look past him. I've got Smith Rowe there as well on the bench. As you just said, he's now a Fulham boy. So thank you very much for that. You can enjoy the money, we'll enjoy the player. We just got to keep him fit, and then I think he can do very well for us. First game away at Manchester United, I would almost guarantee he won't start, especially if we keep Pereira, and Willian. If we keep both of them, I can almost guarantee he won't start. But we've got a pretty good run after that, so I think he'll slot into the main team. Funny thing on Willian is they reported yesterday that he's not joining us on the preseason tour. He's barely even training in preseason, but he's told Marco Silva that he's ready to start game week 1. So I think he's at that point in his career now where he's trying to save his body. But as soon as he gets game week 1 turns around, he'll try and turn it on. I think he'll start coming on as an impact player. William will for us. So that means Smith Rowe could potentially start either in the middle or out wide. And then up front, it's a bit of a no-brainer. I wanted Haaland there, so he's going to stay there for at least the first few. Isaac is my captain currently, just because of the fixtures, and also Watkins. Watkins played really well at the Euros, and he didn't get overworked like the rest of the England team. And I think he was robbed of Premier League Player of the Year last year as well with the amount of goals and assists he got. So I think Watkins is a no-brainer for me. Also, he might get some. This hasn't been confirmed, but he might get some more bonus points too, because Douglas Luiz has left, and he was a bonus points magnet last year. He was, I think, he was the bonus points leader along with Pascal Gross for the majority of the season, and then Palmer came along and did what he did. But with him gone,
he was on Pence as well, right?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, so I think Watkins could be on
might get
Pence.
it.
Yeah, I think so. We'll see. He's 50-50 from Pence, so it depends on how confident they are, but he's never going to be more confident in his own abilities than he is now. So I would suggest giving it to him and see how we go. So that's probably my favorite draft out of the two.
Perfect. And just before we move on to Luke's second draft, Arsenal just announced California as well. So it seems one more transfer is done from our side, right? And it seems that he's already in US with the teammates. So you never know, he might be in contention for game week 1.
Well, yeah, they've got 3 games to go before game week 1, so they should at least give them a crack, I think.
Something to look at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So with Calafiori, does he play in the middle, or does he play out wide, or can he do everything?
So he's more of a left back / left center back. So he comes in from Italy, where he used to play as left center back, but I think prior his career has been around left back. And the initial thoughts are we'll be using him as a inverting left back. He has a good carry rate per se. So we're fairly similar to Zinchenko, but a bit more physical in nature, and is stronger on the carry side of things. Carries the ball really well. Right, so let's see.
Do you think he'll get the nod over Zinchenko? Like, would he be the number one compared in that position?
I think so. Given the money we have spent, it
Yeah.
looks like a long-term pick, right? And there are a lot of reports that Kuyer is being sold or loaned to Italy, loaned back to Italy. So
Okay.
ideally, he had taken off some matches from Zinchenko last season. So I'm assuming Kuyer will move out and Zinchenko will be the backup, or they will compete. But it looks like California will be the long-term number one for sure for that position.
That's good. All right. So hopefully he comes in at 4.5 and then the whole Twitter community can go crazy for him, eh?
Yeah,
All right.
definitely.
Here's my second draft. So this is the draft with the 2 premium. So what I wanted to do as soon as the Euros and the American competition were going on, I set myself a little reminder saying that all players that are not playing in the continental competition should go straight into your game week 1 team, because they not only will they be fresh, but they'll be jealous at missing out on all this great footy. So that's why Mo Salah's there, Haaland's in there as well, and Isaac is there too. So there's a few players that are similar, but because of Salah and Haaland, I've had to rejig specifically the defense, rejig the price points a little bit. So I've gone very light on defense. I've got Thomas from Leicester. I'm not confident about that. Once again, it's going back. Once again, the goalkeepers they can just float. That's 4.5. I just wanted different ones to my other draft. Thomas, I'm not really sure if I'm going to keep him. Barco is one I do want to keep, and also Konsa. They're both in both drafts. I think they're pretty. I'm not going to use the word essential, but Barco's 4.0, and he's starting over Estupinan. And as we saw last season, Estupinan, for some reason, wasn't being picked at all. Barco seems to be a bit of a favourite, and he can invert as well and score goals, as we've seen. Konsa is a bonus points magnet. Nori played really well in the Euros. Wolves have a bit of a tough run at the start of the season, so I'm not really confident on the Wolves pick, but I just wanted him in there as the price point. Moving into midfield, Odegaard. Odegaard didn't play. Him and Haaland at the start of the Euros, they had a photo of them just practicing together. So that piqued my memory to think that they're going to be egging each other on, A, to get to the Euros next time, but B, to start the season off really well. And I think him being so fresh will be really good. So he's going to stick there. I got Mo Salah next to him, and Kunku as well. Like we said before, the 6.5 gem. He could be a really good gem at the start of the season if he keeps himself fit. The same with Bailey. So Bailey is my cover for not having Ollie Watkins. He's 6.5 as well. With Diaby gone, Bailey should be having more of a focal point out wide. There's a lot of talk about Rodgers playing really well. I think Rodgers can play pretty well, but I haven't seen him being consistent as yet. I think Bailey's season, if he keeps fit, will be pretty good, and he'll be a focal point of their attack, which is, Emery loves to go down the flanks as well. And then Callum Hudson-Odoi, he's a price point keeper as well. I think I'll just keep him there for a while. Rodrigo Muniz, the great Fulham number 9. We call him R9 now. He's been given number 9, so he's the new R9. He will, I think he's 6 million if you need a cheap forward. He's a bit of a gem considering our fixtures at the start of the season. We're away to Manchester United first up, but then after that, we've got a whole bunch of green fixtures, and hopefully him and Smith Rowe can work really well together. Pereira is really good at linking out with Muniz as well, so there's a good Brazilian connection there. And I see Muniz is acting like an agent on Twitter. He's liking all the players who have been linked in, and he keeps on giving them white love hearts, which is a reference to the Fulham Football Club. So there might be more Brazilians coming to Craven Cottage. Pretty much every player in the world that speaks Portuguese, I think we've looked at one stage or another. So he seems to be going on a recruitment drive. And then I've got Timmy Castagna there as well. As mentioned before, he should start the start of the season. He played a little bit in Belgium at the Euros, but he wasn't overused. So I think he's pretty confident to start the season with us. So I'm probably less confident with this draft, to be honest. I like the safety of having the likes of Odegaard, Salah, and Haaland, but my defense feels very weak. But the reason why I did that is the bonus point system for defense this season is much, much less. So gone are the days where it'll be a 0-0 draw or 1-0 draw, and the likes of Ben White or Saliba or whoever will get the 3 bonus points. It'll pretty much be the assist or the goal scorer now, and the goalkeepers won't be getting a lot of the bonus points either. So I've gone very light on defense here and quite high in the midfield. So hopefully Mo Salah can prove me right.
Just want to check, is a double 4.5 million goalkeeper duo? That's how you generally start the season? What's the plan?
Well, usually I go with Ben Leno because he's at Fulham. In the last 2 seasons, he started pretty well and he was getting a lot of bonus, but I don't believe that's going to happen. And I think he's gone up to 5, or maybe not. But either way, this season specifically, I've made the decision to go with 2 4.5s. I don't really see the point in investing in a premium for my teams for a premium goalkeeper. I think if I was going to go with 5, I would go with Pickford from Everton. But they've lost Onana, who was really good at protecting the defense there at Everton. So I was a bit dubious about that. I know Sean Dyche loves to defend and win games by 1-0 or 0-all if he could, but I'm just not really confident of the defense there for Everton. I did contemplate having Mikalenko because he is a good attacking threat as well, but in terms of goalkeepers, I think I'll be sticking to 4.5s this season specifically, just because of the bonus point system. And with all the football that's being played in between the 2 Premier League seasons, I think there's going to be a lot of goals, especially over the first 5 to 6 game weeks, which means the clean sheets will be relatively non-existent unless you're spending big on City or Arsenal defense.
I mean, the only thing that I see here is that there's no Arsenal defense, but other than that, it's a pretty well balanced draft. I mean, you've ticked most of the boxes in terms of the midfield and the forwards, so I think it's a good job. But I think California, right? If he starts, and I mean, which he will, let's take a guess game here. What do you think he'll be priced? I think he will be 5.5. That's my guess.
Yeah, I would assume it's 5.5 or at least 5. One of the other things I saw at the start of the transfer season was that Mark Gahey is being looked at by Liverpool too, and he's a 4.5 defender. If he starts playing for Liverpool, that could be good. That being said, they can't keep clean sheets even when Jurgen Klopp was there, so I'm not sure how it's going to go this season. But that's something to keep an eye on as well. It's good to see some defenders or cheaper defenders playing. I still can't believe Konsa's only 4.5. That's interesting. Yeah. It could be very popular.
Yeah, I mean, they can price everyone 5, then we wouldn't have, anything to speak on 4.5 defenders. So they've done us a bit of favor here. But other than that, I mean, it's a good draft. I mean, we've seen four different drafts with few similar players.
Yeah.
So that itself, I think by the end of the stream, we'll be able to kind of, generate a sort of template in terms of the common picks over these drafts. So I think next let's look at mine. And I was not even in an intention to make a draft because I have a policy that no drafts until Community Shield is over. But this time, Sankalp dragged me and he told me, you need to get a draft ready because we're going to do a stream next week and I need a draft. I was like, oh no, homework needs to be done a little bit early with outdated info. I mean, by the time we reach Game Week 1, this draft might not even resemble what it's looking here.
Yeah.
that's the problem. So, defense. I mean, in terms of goalkeepers, I've gone with Raya. Very simple because I needed an Arsenal cover and someone who was cheaper. So 5.5. He works for me at the moment, unless we get California at 5.5, and again people will start thinking around. But for now, I think I'm just gone with a 5.5 keeper and Ward at 4. Pretty sure he's not going to play with just put a 4 million goalkeeper.
Yep.
And defenders, pretty much straightforward. Nikolenko, Joachim Anderson, because I'm not going with Munoz, so cost cutting there. And Byrne from Newcastle, not sure. I mean, there are a couple of managers say that he may not start and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Not sure. That all depends on Trippier's situation and how they're going to play. So, it's wait and watch. He's just a placeholder for now. And other one is Hull Praise from Southampton. 4 million. I need someone who is kind of nailed to play every game. I know there's a lot of love for Barco at the moment. Obviously, people are saying that those are most the games that he's taking set pieces and he's been looking good. And as you said, his percentage went up. I'm not sure. And the only lingering worry is that I think post game week 3 is when they're estimating Stupinian to be back. So not sure whether the new manager is going to let him Estupinian straight away. So we need to wait and see for a few more games, and then I think I'll figure out the 4 million guy. And last, just a little bit of United love. So it's Licha Martinez at 4.5. He's someone
That's
I
not a
think
bad shout, actually.
he's
I was
someone who will
thinking of
play
him.
most of the games if he's fit enough.
Yeah.
And I think we will see a slight improvement from United's perspective in terms of both defense and attack. And with Euro, signed, and unfortunately, probably he might be out for a month or so. But other than that, I think Martinez is very important, and United's defense should gradually improve. It was well under Tenak's first season, but last season was a nightmare because of injuries. But I think priced at 4.5, someone who will play most of the games and is also offensive slightly in terms of passing and all. I think that's definitely not a bad shot. And midfield, I'd say it's pretty much a template midfield. There's not a lot to discuss here. It's Rogers at 5 and in Kunku 6.5. I think I don't want to repeat the same thing. He's priced very, very cheap,
Yeah.
obviously, because he was injured, didn't play most of the games last season. So that's the logical reason for them to drop it down. But if he keeps himself fit, I think he'd be a good shot. But again, with Chelsea, right, we don't know what Chelsea we will see this season. So their fan base, everything, it's so things move fast there. That's one of the problems with them. And the interesting thing I want to know is who's going to take the pens for them.
Yeah. I think it's Palmer. I
I
don't think
think
they'll
so.
change. Right. But first two matches, if Palmer is not available, you might have Nkoku take it because he's been taking it in the preseason.
They also trying to bring in that Victor Osimhen from Napoli as well. Now, if they bring him in, that'll be close to 100 mil.
I don't think they're not playing a game of FIFA here, so I don't think that much is going to happen. But it's
I mean,
it's it's
without Champions
interesting.
League, it's very difficult, right? To get the player,
Yeah,
to
for
convince the
sure.
player.
Yeah,
That's where I think they'll struggle.
yeah,
And Gordon and Rashford are two players there. I think Gordon is 7.5, if
Five.
I'm correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
7.5.
7.5. Rashford is at 7. So I still have one in the bank. If you look at the three forwards, I have Alexander Isak, Haaland, and Armstrong. Armstrong is basically Southampton's talisman, and I think have they signed Ben Barrett and Diaz, or they're rumored to sign? I'm
Yes,
not sure.
7 million.
So,
they did sign him.
so, and I don't know. But Armstrong is someone who will play there most of the games. He started, and he's on penalties as well. So
And
pretty
what
much
price
good.
is Armstrong at? 5.5?
He's at 5.5. The only thing is that you have Jean Pedro and all the other guys at 5.5. Again, we need to wait and see. In the next 10 games, sorry, 10 days, things will change drastically. So,
Yeah,
I mean, whatever we're discussing now, it might be good for the next 2, 3 days, but then, it's like, oh no,
So,
this guy's not scored. He's
I
out.
think Isaac, Haaland, Salah, and Kuku. I think that's your core, right? That is fairly consistent.
Yeah. The
And
only thing is,
Gordon Rashford again looks. Rashford is your call, right? 7 million.
yeah.
I went with Martinelli. You went with Rashford. Something
Yeah,
like that.
so the only worry for me is that I don't have an Arsenal cover in terms of attack
Attack.
per se.
Hmm.
I mean, Havertz and all, I'm not sure he's as a forward, so that's out of the
Hmm.
question at the moment in terms of the structure.
Yeah.
But based on what we have at the moment in terms of budget, I think it's only Martinelli and Odegaard who are the two players who fall
yeah,
under that bracket.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
like to like, I could probably use the 1 million and ship out Gordon for Odegaard or lift and move Rashford out for Martinelli. But I can do that, and then there's another United player who's priced 5 and who might start the season is Ahmad. So he's someone who's looked well, and Garnacho is not back yet. Anthony, I don't think he's going to start. So more or less, we will see Ahmad playing on the right side even for the first few games. And if he plays well, I mean, he did play well towards the end of last season. It's his place to lose. So we might get another United attacker this season who's priced 5. So I mean, things might change.
Yeah. Yeah. And so one player we didn't speak about, but I've been checking on City's freezing friendlies. and Oscar Bob has been playing really well for them. And he's priced at 5 million, fairly involved in the attack, right? I think if Foden is delayed a bit, and Pep spoke about City, saying we'll get the players back somewhere around Community Shield or somewhere after Community Shield. It depends on how the players are feeling.
Yeah.
So if we see Foden is a bit delayed, I think Oscar Bob can be your 3-4 week punt. He's again priced at 5 million, fairly good talent, and I think he'll play similar role like Foden, do a lot of runs, especially that Chelsea match. You never know, suddenly you have a gem coming out.
But the only question is how much can you trust Pep?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Exactly.
that's always the question.
It's roulette. Because I originally thought of putting Doku on my team as well as a cover for not having Foden. But then once again, he could get 30 minutes the first game and 5 minutes the next game and then play 390s. You just don't know. So, and Doku's a bit more expensive than Oscar Bob, I think, as well. But it'd be nice if Pep could tell us a week before they start, this is what the team lineup's going to be, and then we can just sit and forget. I'm not entirely sure if Foden will even play game week 1, so that could, or start game week 1, I should say. So that could throw a huge spanner in the works. Now, the one thing I will say about this draft, I noticed you snuck Rashford in there. I'm assuming you're a Manchester United fan. So,
Yes. I think that's pretty pretty much straightforward.
so
It's an easy
if
guess.
so, what's your alternative for Rashford? Thinking outside, if outside Manchester United, that price point's pretty good. The 7, there's quite a lot there. Who would you bring in?
Yeah, I mean, you look at Eze, who's just seven
Yeah.
straight swap, and as I said, Martinelli at 7. And I don't know how much is if no Salah and all. I think you have Luis Diaz with 7.5. I'm really looking at how Liverpool are going to line up because we know that they don't have a so-called forward in their team and in the games that they've played so far in the preseason. So we don't know how they're going to play, whether it's going to be Diaz, Nunes, Salah, or Hecpo, or you're going to see Jota. It's going to be pretty interesting, but we do have a couple of options at around that price bracket. I mean, as I said, I think the only first name that came to my head was Eze, but
Zotek is at 7.5 million, and he's very interesting pick because he plays as a pseudo number 9, and if he gets minutes, he generally scores. Right, he's got a very good goal or assist per 90. Right, because he doesn't play a lot of 90 minutes, he plays those 60 minutes, but he's generally involved in goals. He can be an interesting pick for sure. Right, we
another
haven't
player
seen
that I
slot.
forgot
Sorry, yeah,
is James Madison at 7.5.
correct. Yeah,
He's someone who always starts the season. Well, we've seen even last season Liverpool,
Yeah.
especially Jota and TS, they kind of started well. Unfortunately, few guys got injured midway, and there was a problem. But Madison at 7.5 is. I always like James Madison at that price point. I think it's pretty a good price. They have set him up at 7.5. So
correct.
again, if you can stretch here and there, obviously Spurs fixtures, that's one thing, and you can't rely on Spurs a lot. I mean, that's one problem. But again, a player at that price point who should take set pieces and he'll be involved as we're seeing bonus points for midfielders and forwards. Basically, the creative ones, they will be rewarded. So he might play well this season. Hopefully, he keeps himself fit.
And there's this story, right, where Madison is now going back to his former club, Leicester away. Right, so there's always that history involved where he might have something to show them, right? Hey, I'm going to a bigger club, I'm doing better things now. Right?
Look at
There's
me.
always there's always that story which is there. You never know how things turn out. But first two fixtures are really good for them. They are Leicester away and Everton home. Then they have Newcastle away, Arsenal home. Those two tricky fixtures before it goes back to Brentford home and United away, right? So uh, it's a decent pick. I thought of Madison as well. Right, at that price point, I think these are interesting players to keep a track of. I don't think Madison has scored so far in the preseason friendlies, but will be good to see. How these guys settle and how well a rhythm they look at. Right.
I mean, there's only one last player that I quickly saw. I just had to filter up and see. And you have Spurs players like Brennan Johnson, Kulusevski, and all others who are in the bracket. I'm not going to talk about them. But the last player that I saw here is Brian Mbemo. So again,
Yeah.
We have options here. We know that he's, I mean, the last 2 seasons, he's someone who will return points in spells. So again, there are options. It all boils down to the end of the day how you structure your team and where you decide to prioritize and spend your funds. But one thing that I will agree with Sankalp what he said at the start is keep point 0.5 away from the final team you make. This just to cater if there are any price rises that happen and you just off by point 0.1 or point 0.2 whatever that happens down the road. So that's even my thinking. Just keep point 0.5. Just make a team for 99.5. Keep the point 0.5 away. Right. I think we're done. We're done with all the drafts. Let me just get put up the deck and
One of
yeah,
the Spurs players that to me is really interesting is Brennan Johnson. I think if he starts for Spurs, he could be someone that's really a good enabler for us. I think he's only 6.5 off the top of my head. I can't remember, but
Yeah, yeah.
he's supposedly in really good form in preseason. He just scored in the last game. It just depends on how they line up. They've got almost too many attacking options now with Kulisevsky and their version of R9. And also, obviously, Sunil should be leading the line, you'd think. But we'll see. If Brennan Johnson starts, like you say, they've got a couple of difficult fixtures in 3 and 4. But after that, when everyone's looking to wildcard, he might pop into the team.
He is a very good winger, and I think he is way more attacking or has a bit of more of directness compared to Kulusevski, right? So that really plays out well. And I found him always involved in the attack, receiving that final ball or passing that final ball. So definitely at 6.5 million, these are good players to look at. And I think Spurs will do better this season. They
Yes.
started really well last season, and I think Az is a very good coach. I know he was really pissed by the end of it, but at least from an attack point of view, I think Spurs are a good team to keep a cover of. They did score a good amount of goals as well last season. Right. So, initial thoughts, right? Attack. Where are we? Go City, go Arsenal, go Spurs. I guess. Uh, right. Liverpool is where we have to take a call, and but it's primarily Salah or no one, right? To
Pretty
begin
much.
with, or you go down to Bozo and hope that he goes down. But I think midfield and forward this year, it feels like there are a lot of options. I don't know. This is the start of the season, right? Maybe once they actually play, that illusion will go down. But I feel like forwards you have Kai, you have Isaac, you have Watkins, Haaland, you have Muniz, you have Mateta, right? Players who did well last season. And then midfield, there's just plethora of options, and some of them are really underpriced, like Martinelli, Madison, Rashford. I think these can be great enablers if we want to, go for a 2 million kind of a model, right? But this feels like a season where we'll focus less on defense, try and
Yeah.
keep those cheap enablers who give us the clean sheets, because they are anyways not getting bonuses unless they score, right? If your goalkeeper scores, kudos for you.
If your
Enjoy
goalkeeper
that.
scores, you deserve to win FPL.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right, but that seems like the way to start things, right? And then see, of course, FPL football will surprise us, and then we have to react.
Yeah. Yeah. I probably, ideally, I'd like to pick a team that's perfect and I can roll 5 transfers in the first 5 weeks, but realistically, I'll be scrambling after game week 3, I think. Also, I think last season I saw, or I noticed anyway, there was far more injuries than there had been in previous seasons. And the major players, but the players everyone's looking at this season have probably played more footy over the last 12 months than they ever have. So we need to be maybe saving some transfers up, because I expect to be a fair amount of injuries this season as well. But you're right, we need to focus on the enablers. That's why in a couple of my drafts I've gone away from big at the back. Originally I wanted big at the back because I wanted Vardio, then I wanted Ben White. But then once you put them in, then you look into your midfield. You got to have Haaland and Isaac, and then all of a sudden in midfield you're looking at maximum 7. So I think you're right in what you said. Small at the back and then big in the midfield and up front should work pretty well in the first couple of weeks anyway. What are your thoughts on there's quite a bit of a trend now. Everyone's saying that we'll pick a team for the first 5 game weeks and then maybe look at a wild card after that. That's the only real template I can actually see happening in the Twitter community. I don't really believe in it, because I think if you're planning for a wild card just for the sake of planning for it, generally it won't go the way you want to. But have you both thought of that?
Yeah, game week 6 looks like a good, turn of things. But again, game week people who have really planned for game week 6 are going lighter on Arsenal attack. They are taking strongly fixtures play into account. And generally, I'm a guy who doesn't start a season with looking at fixtures. I start a season thinking of the teams. Which are the teams I trust, which are the teams I don't trust, and I like to start with that, right? And that's why it makes determining the wildcard a bit more difficult for me. Wildcard one, right? So game week 6 does look good, but I'm way more open for it. 5 FTs, because it has come into play, it will be there on everyone's mind. But I think once we start playing, once the season starts surprising us, once we start reacting, I think reaching 5 FTs won't be easy, especially on the first part of the game, right?
No.
It's only by game week 8, 9, when the team starts settling in, is when you start saving your transfers. But I'm generally a guy who likes playing it risky, who likes going for hits, right? What's your style look? How do you like to play generally?
Well, so I'm a little bit bipolar on the way I play. One week I'll be conservative, the next I'll be risky, and the third week I'll be looking at stats, and then all of a sudden I'll take a -12. So I don't mind taking hits. I like calculated hits, and then I like to track them to see if they actually pay off long term. So I actually like taking a hit, especially if I think it's going to benefit my team for the next 3 or 4 weeks. I think that's really good.
And do you
That being
see
said,
yourself saving 5 transfers?
in a perfect world, yes, but realistically, I struggle saving 2 transfers most of the time. So saving 5 will be. I'd need to get off to a really sweet start to save 5 transfers. I'm talking I need to be in the top 100 if I was going to save that many. I don't think it's going to happen. So I think I could potentially save 1 or 2 before a wild card, and then once you hit your wild card, you save them through that, and then you could have maybe 3 or 4 on the back of that. That could be good. But realistically, I don't think so. I don't think I'll get to 5. I think maximum I'll probably do 3 or 4.
Yeah, and one thing that we did miss touching upon is, there's a lot of, focus on trying to get something, a good draft, starting with a good draft,
Yeah.
because I think that will be key. If you start with a good draft, you can save your transfers. You can even save them through the wild card. That's a great change now this season, right? So that first draft can be really, really tricky, but if it works for you, it works really well. So I think I'm happy to play around a bit, seeing things, but we need to spend a lot more time this season on our first draft than maybe we would have last few seasons.
I completely agree. And we need to focus on, I believe, getting at least 14 players that get 90 minutes each week, or at least a lot of minutes each week, because gone are the days where you can have 11 starters and 3 cannon fodder on the bench. There's too many injuries, and the squads are too big these days, especially for the major teams. So that's one of the issues I had making my drafts, is trying to find that a whole bunch of players who can play and then fit into their budget. But like you say, if you start off with the right draft, it could really benefit you throughout the entire season. I've never really had a good start to the season. Like I don't think I've ever had one. I think last year I started, and then I was 19k after game week 2, but then by game week 5 I was in like 800k. So the start might have been good, but it's not consolidating. So like you say, it's really important to get that good start. Sometimes I think we overthink it. We just got to pick good players from good teams who have got good fixtures, and then eventually you'll get points. Don't transfer too early. I think try and roll game week 1. No matter how bad you think your team is, just try and roll game week 1 and see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Any last comments, Aditya, from your side?
No, I have nothing to add here. I mean, it's as you guys said, right? It's going to be important how you pick your draft and pick your final team. But again, as I said, boils down to what kind of a manager you are, what kind of an approach you want to take, how you want to structure your team, and that's it. I mean, wildcard, slots and all. I think we can look at it a bit later. It's very early, but with the amount of transfers that they've allowed us to keep, right? I mean, I mean, last season or even just gone by, people were forced to wildcard just because they were starting to slip away.
Yeah.
So even to make 4 5 changes, they had to wildcard early. I think now that's not the case. If you're able to save even three transfers and then take maybe one or two hits, you might be able to make the ground. So it's going to be a different approach. But again, starting this season is always important, as always.
Yeah.
So let's hope for it.
Perfect. And with this note, I see a comment from Gaurav saying, "Congratulations, Calafiori announced so jealous, great talent." I mean, thank you. I hope this is the season of the likes of Calafiori as well as Smithrow, right?
Mm,
Great enablers who help us, do good things in FPL. But at that note, thanks so much, Luke. Right? I know these are insane hours for you. I'm
fine.
really surprised that you joined in, but thank you so much for coming in.
I've had a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on. It's a really good stream you guys have got going here. Congratulations. So thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right, then we're done for this episode, and we will see you all guys probably early next week or this weekend. We will look at more or less players to pick bracket wise and position wise. That will help you set up your drafts to the next level. Till then, enjoy tinkering, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you.
See you later.